Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Broadbrooks. Hi, Ryan. It's really great to see you here. I'm glad you guys could come so we could talk about some of Ryan's grades, test scores, that kind of thing. And let's just jump right in. So you can see here, I'm sure you've already seen Ryan's grade report. I'm sure you've already spoken to his English and Algebra 1 teachers about those grades. Clearly, he's doing really fantastic in U.S. government and U.S. history. I know he takes a really serious interest in those subjects. And then choir, I've seen the choir perform. They are really fantastic. Obviously, of the most concern to me as his chemistry teacher is his chemistry grade, which is sitting at a C right now. This is not to say that he does not understand, excuse me, the content that we're talking about, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a second here. I have it broken down here for you to see some strengths and areas of improvement that I have set up for Ryan. What I am seeing is that he is demonstrating that he understands the content that we're talking about in things like the homework assignments that I do receive from him, as well as tests that he's taken, formative assessments, little quizzes, and exit slips, and that kind of thing. He's very attentive in class, takes really good notes. I can see he's got a lot of friends, and he gets along really well with his classmates, which I'm always really happy to see. Where he struggles a little bit more are with the more real-world-based inquiry activities. He struggles with making some of those connections, and I'm looking into sort of relating them back more to his interests and to things that he's more interested in, and giving all of the students really more opportunities to relate these inquiry activities in chemistry back to things that they care about and things that they understand, relating them back into things like environmental issues and that sort of thing. The major reason that I'm seeing the C that Ryan does have right now is that I'm missing several homework assignments, and then he did also miss the deadline for our big most recent inquiry activity, and I know he was struggling with that. So I am working with him in class and then in study hall on getting that finished. Excuse me. And just making sure that he understands how to do that and what he needs to do. So Ryan and I are in communication about that. So it's really just something that's missing. I am seeing that he's understanding the content, which I'm very happy about. So then I can get into talking about, of course, the NECAP, the New England Common Assessment Program. So we're showing him at just above the line of proficient, which is fantastic. 1142 is a really, really great score, Ryan. I'm really proud of that and glad to see that you're understanding your science content. You can also see there I've put the description of the inquiry task. So our NECAP science test is broken down into several different categories: physical science, earth space science, life science, and then an inquiry portion. So I've left this description here, and I'll just read it really quick. Instead of measuring student knowledge of content, inquiry tasks measure the student's ability to make connections, express ideas, and provide evidence of scientific thinking. The Grade 11 inquiry task, the throwing contest, required students to use data to explain relationships and make predictions regarding the mass, forces, and motion of objects. Students used data and graphs from a throwing contest to analyze the relationship among object mass, lever ratios, and counterweight mass. Students applied this information to determine which adjustments to a throwing machine would produce desired results. Students worked independently, so they didn't work with groups during this task. On the 4th and 8th grade versions of this test, they do work in a group and perform an actual inquiry task. In this case, they're just reading data and turning that into answers. So you can see that Ryan is sitting here at proficient, with the top 29% at our school, the top 31% in the district, and top 29% in the state. You can see we are at a 0% proficient with distinction and 1% in the state of New Hampshire, which is something that we're looking at improving as a state, essentially, as a school and as a district in our science department in particular, at improving our students' understanding of the science concepts that they need to understand to be able to be proficient with distinction on these tests. But I am very happy to see that Ryan is performing where I expected him to be performing, in that proficient range. So you can see now a breakdown of his score. So in the physical science, he had a 13 out of 15, earth and space science, a 12 out of 15, and in life science, an 11 out of 15. So physical science encompasses both chemistry and physics, but primarily chemistry. So that 13 out of 15 is really what I would expect out of Ryan based on what I've seen in class. He is well above the average and well above the range of proficiency. These scores on the right side here are what we expect to see in students who are just newly reaching proficiency. So clearly what we're seeing in Ryan is that he is proficient in physical science, very proficient in earth and space science, life science as well. You can see also where he struggled was with this sort of graph interpretation section, the inquiry section. And you can also see that with these life science scores as well as the inquiry scores, they are significantly lower than the maximum and lower than the physical and the earth space science. What I'm seeing here is a combination of the struggles that I talked about earlier with Ryan making connections, and that I'm working with him on in particular, but also in that the inquiry task for this year's test was based around physics. You can see in this breakdown of scores, life science he would have taken last year as a sophomore. Earth and space science he would have taken as a freshman, so he would have taken environmental science, I think, and biology as a sophomore. Physical science, part of that he's taking this year, chemistry as a junior, and then next year I think he's planning on taking physics. So although it does say that it isn't supposed to measure student knowledge of content, but rather the student's ability to make connections, not having that basis in physics that would be required for this test in particular, I think significantly hurt a lot of our students, because this was the test that was administered to juniors. So normally if it was based in something that he had some background in, that he had taken biology, he had taken environmental science, he was taking chemistry, we would not see scores that were in this range, and it was kind of a luck of the draw type situation in this case, which is unfortunate, but I am very, very happy to see that his content knowledge on this test was very high. So as far as getting that grade up, as I said, just making sure that we get that inquiry activity in. Excuse me. It was the capstone for this particular unit, but he has until the very end of the unit, to get that finished, and I know he's making some progress on that. So thank you for coming so much. If you have any questions, just let me know and we can discuss those right now.